start with the really thrilling stuff. I'm talking about performance funding. I'm still working to understand it, but I know last week you voiced support for the new proposal that's been approved at the Board of Governors. Y'all talked about it yesterday. The board seemed to be not as thrilled with the new situation and how that's going to cut money from UNC. Just wanted to see if you could elaborate, both of you elaborate on your thoughts there.
Certainly understand the concern of our board. As I said at the Board of Governors meeting last week, you were there, I believe, that we do support the Board of Governors proposal. I've been involved in the performance funding issue for quite some time. I helped design the current structure when I was on the budget committee at the Board of Governors, and so we remain supportive of the systems proposal, which is now no longer a proposal, it's actually a policy.
Yeah.
And I think from a board perspective, we certainly consider it settled system policy. I think the comments that you heard in the discussion really stand on their own, and certainly there are different views within our board, but having said that, we appreciate and acknowledge settled system policy. We have every confidence in our chancellor and our CFO to navigate what goes forward and how we move forward. But yes, I think the comments that you observed during yesterday's meeting certainly stand on their own. And yes, we do have varied opinions there, but certainly acknowledge the system policies that are now in effect.
I have a few, but certainly you can't speak about the lawsuit, but the board was sued last year over open records laws. There's been some, Peter Hans has sanctioned the board for its involvement in the Bill Belichick hire. Is there something that needs to be done with the board to get it to sort of follow the rules or stay in its lane? And do you worry about some of the overarching things that the board is getting involved in?
I'd just say the board is a group of really hardworking, committed volunteers. Most of them are alums, a lot of them are parents who have the best interests of the university at heart. Doesn't mean everyone's always going to agree on everything, and that's part of the purpose of a board. But if you just look at the meetings over the last 2 days, we had the proposal from Trustee Codis on Narcan, which I think was a really good suggestion that we've already followed up on and will implement. You had the proposal from Trustee Blaine on harmonizing and synthesizing the code. I didn't realize until Trustee Blaine brought that up that we had that issue, obviously something that we should address to harmonize the code and put it into one place. You saw the discussion yesterday between a number of trustees and the provost around tenure. I thought a really substantive, productive, policy-based conversation, and so I think the board makes us better.
And as the new board chairman, are you going to take steps to ensure that the board? There was a lot of talk in there about each person knowing their role, and doing their job. Is that a conversation you've had with your board members about this is our lane and these are the things that we should be focused on?
I think we're always aware of that, and frankly, always reminded of that. I certainly echo, what the chancellor has mentioned, and I also believe that this is a volunteer board. It's a working board. It's a board that gives a lot of its time and service to this institution, but certainly we're aware of our role, our lane, if you will, and often remind each other of that.
And yesterday during the committee meeting, some of the trustees were expressing an interest in bolstering UNC security following Charlie Kirk's assassination. I was wondering, do you have any plans? Have you started looking at how security might be enhanced, and do you feel like it needs to be?
Security remains an important priority for both the board and for the administration. We've taken some significant steps already. They were discussed yesterday in the meeting around license plate readers, better camera coverage, a number of other steps. It continues to be a priority. I think there's more that we can do. A number of those additional steps were discussed yesterday, so we're going to continue to invest and try to make sure that we're doing everything we can to keep our campus as safe and as secure as possible.
And what are some of those steps that you're interested in?
Well, I think one of the biggest ones that was discussed yesterday was the idea of having a better system for all of the footage that we receive from our various camera systems around campus, a better structure for real-time observation of what's happening on campus, better ability to react to a particular incident. So I don't think security is ever something where you just check the box and say, okay, we've made the campus as secure as we can. I think it's a continued effort of investment and making sure that you're doing everything that you can.
Center, in his open letter, Dean Jim White of the College of Arts and Sciences said that this order did not come directly from you, so I was hoping you could provide clarity on who it came from.
I have responsibility for all the decisions that are made by the administration. The mural was up for over a year, as you know, and we have to balance the importance of free speech and free expression, which is obviously something that we take seriously, with the Title VI obligations that we have to ensure that we're not allowing the creation of a hostile environment for Jewish students on campus. We had received a number of complaints about the mural. The Title VI obligation is not a theoretical obligation. Two important U.S. universities very recently have seen enforcement action from the U.S. Department of Justice specifically related to that affirmative Title VI obligation, and so that's the balance we were trying to strike. I said in the faculty council meeting, I don't think we did a particularly good job of communicating, of involving all stakeholders, and we're sorry for that.
Yes, and I was also wondering if there is a belief that the mural was anti-Semitic at all in nature, why was it allowed to be left out for a year?
Well, as I say, it's a balancing act. We have to always be trying to balance the Title VI obligations, ensuring that we're not allowing the creation of a hostile environment for any of our students, with the values of free speech and free expression. And that's not a black and white issue. It's always going to be a balancing act.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Gotcha.
My bad. I was just coming over here so I could see your face in the video. Just as it pertains to football and athletics, I know that we had a conversation earlier in your office just about earlier this fall about athletics and how you see that in terms of your vision for the university continuing to be, you know, like the footstep, kind of the front step, the porch rather, for the university. Just with all the investment made in football, I was curious for you, or also you, Mr. Turner, just any sort of assessment on how that's going so far, and how do you guys determine like a successful season from your standpoint for football in terms of what it's doing for the university, if that makes sense?
So it's not the kind of thing that we judge after 4 games or even after one season. These things take time. We last won the conference championship in 1980. And so we have significant work to do, significant investment to make to get the program where we want it to be, and that process is obviously underway.
And I'd say, I think a minimum level of patience is required for any level of future success. I appreciate the need and desire for instant gratification, but it takes time to create success. Success rarely comes fast, it rarely comes easily. It's not a controversial statement to say that about any organization, much less college athletics and college football. So I think it takes time to create success, and certainly with patience, then you start to monitor progress. But to the Chancellor's point, I think it's hard to make any determinations this early in the season, this early in the tenure, frankly, for this coaching staff.
Have you been at all surprised at the way that people have reveled in the losses? The sort of the trolling online, the amount of vitriol from national columnists, others who've already graded this hire as an F, already said there's no way that it will succeed.
We're always delighted to see the passion around Tar Heel football and the attention that we're receiving on a national stage.
Time for about 2 more.
I wanted to ask something about skill. Obviously, it's been controversial since it was started. It seems to be at the heart of this lawsuit against the board. There's an investigation happening right now into the school. What, from a return on investment or a plus minus column, a pros and cons, has the school succeeded, been a success? We talked about patience with the football program, and what would you like to see out of it that would make it a success and maybe get it out of these headlines?
Well, I think if you think about the overall mission of skill, it's never been more important. The focus on civil dialogue, on civic discourse. If you look around the landscape of higher education and the broader national political conversation, what could be more important? And I think as a university, we've always had as a priority the creation of citizens as well as scholars, and skill is an important part of that. I had the chance to go to Jonathan Rose's class recently, John Rose's class recently, which is titled Discourse in an Age of Political Polarization, and speak with his class, group of really engaged students with a broad range of political views who are having rational, dispassionate, scholarly conversations about some of the most hot button political issues of the day. That's a good thing. We've got the residential program off to a strong start, and so we feel very positively about where skill is, and could not be more convinced about the continued need for skill and its mission.
Could I have a question for Chair Turner? I know that there have been some concerns about your role as the CEO of DraftKings.
About what? I'm sorry.
Your role as
Oh,
CEO
yes.
of DraftKings potentially presenting a conflict of interest with your role on the board of trustees. And I know that you're recusing yourself from athletic matters. Do you think that recusing yourself from these things eliminates that possibility for a conflict of interest there?
Absolutely. I mean, that's been my position from the very beginning. If ever there's a perceived or real conflict, it is entirely appropriate, and I've done so, recuse myself from those conversations.
One more, Brianna. Corey.
It may be too early to say. I know there's going to be campus conversations about it, but just wanted to get your thoughts on the possibility of raising in-state tuition, and whether, there was conversation yesterday about whether the flat tuition for like the past decade-ish has led to a tightening of resources, if that's going to be the main consideration. If you think that's an issue, just want to get your thoughts on whether it might go up.
So we were just named the best value in public higher education for the 21st year in a row. We have an enormous amount of pride in that. We take our responsibility to keep a North Carolina education as free as practicable for North Carolina residents very seriously. And tuition, as you say, has been flat for 9 going on 10 years in nominal terms, so it's actually gone down in real terms. Any tuition increase would have to be looked at very carefully, very thoughtfully, and importantly, can only go up by 3% a year, would not affect any current students, and we're required by policy to remain in the bottom quartile for our entire peer group with respect to tuition. So we'll take a look at it, but anything we do on tuition will be within those pretty significant constraints.
All right, thank you.